Welcome students. Today we are going to see the session on XML documents comprises elements and attributes in the fourth unit, data representation and presentation of web technology subjects. So here are the outline of the today's session, that is objectives and outcomes of the session, physical structure of the XML document, logical structure of the XML document, building blocks of XML, element declaration in XML documents, attribute declaration in XML documents, and the comparison of XML elements versus XML attributes. So the objective of today's session is to understand XML declaration and XML encoding part. The outcome of the session is the students may be able to use the element declaration and attribute declaration in XML documents. And here are the XML related technologies. We can define XML as a family of technologies such as DDT, document type definition, XML schemas, or used to define legal XML tags and their attributes for particular purposes. CSS, cascading style sheets, which describes how to display HTML or XML documents in a browser. And the third technology is XSLT, extensible style sheet language transformations, and XPath. They are used to translate from one form of XML to another form. And the last technology is DOM, that is document object model, and SAX is a simple API for XML, and JAX, that is Java API for XML processing. All these are all APIs, application programming interface for XML parsing. And here comes the physical structure of the XML document. And here is the XML document, which always starts with a prologue. There is nothing but the XML declaration will be there, followed by that body of the XML document. Here is an example is specified. The first statement is the XML declaration, which starts with the question mark followed by XML, and the attributes specified here are version and encoding. The value of the version is 1.0 and encoding is specified, value is specified within the double quotes. So next, after every XML declaration, there will be only exactly one root element must be there in the XML document. Here is the computer is the root element, which comprises the followed by the child elements or CPU, memory, and graphic card. So CPU followed by the tag having the attribute number followed by the value of the attribute is here specified. Then there comes the content, then closing of the tag. The next we'll see about the logical structure of a XML document. So this is an example, and this example can be graphically represented as a tree-like structure. So the root element is computer, followed by that the child elements of the root element. Always the root element will be the parent of every XML document, and the child elements are CPU, memory, and graphic card. The content of the each tag is specified as a sibling here. Okay. Next we'll see the building blocks of XML. Elements, tags, attributes, entities, and character data. So elements in this example is height. There will be a starting tag and closing tag, and tags will be specified in pairs. Attributes, here is the height tag, followed by that attribute is scale, and the attribute value specified within the double quotes, and the entity specified here in this example is afternoon tag, followed by the content of the tag. Within the content there comes the ampersand symbol. It's specified within the It's end with the semicolon at the end of the tag, afternoon tag. Then the character data may be parsed or unparsed. So there are 5 special characters must be written as entities. The first one is ampersand, and the second one is less than symbol, LT, and for greater than symbol, GT, and for double quotes, QUOT, and for apostrophe, APOS. So all the entities should be end with the semicolon. And these entities can be used even in places where they are not absolutely required. And they are only predefined entities in XML. The overall structure of the XML document must start with the one or more processing instructions, or otherwise called as directives. So for example, you can have the PI as represented as XML followed by the version, and you may also have the XML style sheet with the following attributes, type, and href. And after the XML declaration or processing instruction, you can have the root element. For example, you can have the root element as weather report, and starting of the root element and closing of the root element. The processing instruction may occur anywhere in the XML document, but usually it occurs in the first statement in your XML document. And PI is a command to the program processing the XML document to handle it in a certain way. XML documents are typically processed by more than one program. Programs that do not recognize a given PI should just ignore it. The general form of the PI starts with a question mark and target instructions, and should have a closing question mark and close the angle bracket. For example, you can have the example XML style sheet with the attributes type, and the value of the attribute is text bar CSS specified in double quotes. The another attribute name is href, and the source of the file is mentioned as mysheet.css within the double quotes. And prologue refers to the information that appears before the start tag of the document or the root element. It includes the information that applies to the document as a whole, includes the information such as character encoding, document structure, and style sheet information will be there in the prologue. For example, you can have the version information, encoding information, style sheet information, and if you are having the DDT as a separate file, and which is mentioned as here the file name is catalog.ddt. Here doc type is the keyword and system is the keyword. Then the root element is catalog, name of the element is catalog, and the external DDT is name is catalog.ddt. And here comes the XML declaration. XML followed by the version, followed by encoding and standalone. Version is mandatory attribute. It specifies the version of the XML document, and encoding attribute is optional one. It specifies the encoding style of the document. Usually the default value is UTF-8, and standalone is a optional attribute which specifies whether if the external document is linked to the external markup declaration. The default value of standalone is no, and there are two possible values. One is yes and the other one is no. Yes specifies no external markup declarations are allowed, and no specifies you can have the external markup declaration. So coming to the XML encoding, Unicode is an industry standard for character encoding of text documents. There are two variants of Unicode. One is UTF-8 and UTF-16. UTF expansion is Universal Character Set Transformation Format. UTF-8 uses 1 byte to represent the characters in ASCII set and 2 or 3 bytes for the next rest. UTF-16 uses 2 bytes for most characters and 4 bytes for the rest. UTF-8 is the default value for the XML documents without encoding information. And here comes the example. It shows the XML declaration. There is a processing instruction, or simply called as PI, or simply otherwise called as directives or prologue. The first statement that appears in the XML document is version, the information version attribute, encoding and standalone. So here are the default values are mentioned here, and the second part you are having the XML version is specified here. These two statements are the same declaration because encoding and standalone are optional one and the version attribute is alone mandatory one. So it refers to the same declaration. The basic component of XML documents are, if you're coming to the element, it comprises start tag followed by the content followed by the end tag. End tag should have the backslash followed by the start tag. See, the rules of the element is it composed of three tags, three parts. One is start tag, content and the end tag. And this is a case sensitive one, and content is optional one. You can have the empty element also. The element must be ended with the end tag in a correct order. The start tag and the end tag can be treated as the wrappers. See this example. It starts with the name capital letter followed by the content and followed by the closing tag, but it is starts with the small case. So it's a wrong statement. Here are some of the examples of element declarations. The fourth, fifth and the ninth line statements are wrong, which is represented as the red mark in this document, XML document. Here, if you are seeing the fourth line, the title tag is there, followed by the content. There is no closing tag. And in the fifth line, the title tag is there. That it starts with a capital letter and it ends. Ending tag starts with a small letter. It's also a wrong one. And coming to the ninth line, the author element is there, followed by the name tag and followed the content, and it should close the name tag and then the author tag. So it's closed in a wrong order. It's not a correct statement. The rules about element, it should have only one root element, and every element contains starting tag and an ending tag. The content is an optional one. It may have an empty element. For example, it can have X tag, closing tag is there. It can also represent as X followed by the backslash. The tag names are case sensitive, and if you are representing capital letter, it should end also with the capital letter. If it is in a different way, then error occurs. The element must be ended with the end tag in a correct order. For example, P tag followed by I tag. Problem here is the content. Then it should close the I tag, then the P tag should be closed. So it occurs a error. Naming tags, the names can contain letters, numbers and other characters. The name must not start with the number or punctuation character. The names must not start with the letters XML, etc. Names cannot contain spaces. So here is an example. Every XML document must contain exactly one element that is called the root element or the document element. So in this example, the root element is the book element. So see the next example, followed by the XML declaration statement, there is no root element. There comes the title tag and the author. So it's a wrong format. After the XML declaration, there is no root element. So this is also a wrong usage. So element versus tag versus attribute. Element should contain start tag, optional content and an end tag. For example, name, introduction to XML, closing tag. Start tag is the name and the content is the introduction to XML, and the end tag is the backslash name. Start tag may have the attribute. There is slide number followed by the attribute value is 1 specified within the double quotes. Different types of XML. There is attribute will have the syntax element followed by the property specified within the single quote or the double quotes. Thank you. Happy learning.